Okay, it's running, gang.
So this is our March Strat Endgame Presentation for Team Lion, and I'm Connor.
I'm Josh.
I'm Caroline.
I'm Christian.
So this is an overview of our decisions, period 1 through 3. We decided to start by having move target to professionals and high earners, and then most targeted to savers. And then the next 3 periods, we wanted to drop move because it wasn't really making us any money. And then we decided to focus on most and improve that. And then the next 3 periods, we launched the So Night Money, and then also modified most to target savers, as well as modified money to target high earners. And these are just graphs of period 6 and 10, the scales. And as you can see, compared to each other, we have our most in money product. We kind of moved them more towards who we were targeting. And then this is our financial report for period 6 through 10. And period 8 was pretty successful for us, and then we kind of had a slow decline towards the end.
For our first lesson, we learned that you gotta adapt to consumer needs. So we did this by utilizing our research and development, finding out what high earners and savers like, and then modifying our product to keep it relevant to them. This is in period 8 is when we made changes to our money product that made it more successful, and that's when we had our best period. You can see this in our revenues, total market share, brand revenue. A real world example of this is Netflix. They evolved with technology by figuring out that consumers wanted convenience, so they brought their DVDs that were already doing all right and brought into streaming, which is now their big main selling.
So lesson number 2 is to not neglect a product. We learned that you have to be able to introduce a new product while keeping up with the initial one. So most was our successful product in the beginning when we had Move, and then after we dropped Move, most started to decline in money, started to be the cash cow basically, and I think that's where we kind of went wrong, and we kind of invested most of our time and money into money. And we needed to balance 2 products, basically change the numbers with advertising, the sales force, and research based on the product information. And here is the graph of the production in periods 6 and 10. So most had like a pretty steady growth in the first 6 periods, and this is when we introduced money. And in period 10, it barely grew, most barely grew, and while money grew by a lot. So that's just showing like that we didn't really, I guess we focused more on money than most. And a real world example is Heinz. So Heinz started selling ketchup in 1869. So for a while they were just focused on selling ketchup, but so they control 60% of the market share right now, and they started to introduce consumer mustard in 2015. Before that, they only sold like mustard in like restaurants and stadiums, like ballparks and stuff like that. So they only had a 1% of the mustard industry market share up until that point. But once they introduced their new product, they gained about 7% market share in 2 years. So it just shows that they were able to successfully introduce a new product while keeping up with their the initial industry of ketchup.
Right. So our third lesson is that we should have kept top market trends. In some instances, we should have paid more attention to trends and indicators of them. We focused heavily on period-to-period goals without looking farther ahead in creating a long-term plan. So a real-world example would be Kodak. Kodak was at the top of their market, and then they failed to recognize the changes in technology and trends within the industry, and because of that, they went from being the top to bankruptcy. And just to conclude, the market track simulation has taught us how important it is to know your consumers and adjust to their wants and needs, never stay in one place and keep innovating, and also to not neglect the product.